You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
Ideally, we want to make sure that we just continue to prove up the continuity of the bed, so basically building tonnage, so that eventually we can put together a 43-101. But I wouldn't be surprised, because of the type of deposit it is, that we're going to get attention from some of the bigger players, and I think that will result in a revaluation of the stock.
Thank you for tuning in to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers, and in today's show, we're going to be getting an update from Norden Crown Metals. This is a silver and polymetallic explorer in Scandinavia, a very unique jurisdiction and the only Scandinavian company that we cover on this show. Joining me is Pat Varas. He's the executive chairman. So Pat, welcome back onto the show. You have two main projects. Let's start with the Gumsberg project. What is the update? What have you been doing since we last spoke, and what's going on, and what should investors look forward to?
Yeah, so Gumsberg, of course, that was, we had a really good discovery back in January, and it was for a Broken Hill type discovery. And I think I've spoken to you about why we think that is a really important thing, because Broken Hill type deposits are not that common, but yet they represent some of the biggest, a good number of them are world-class deposits. So we're pretty excited about working there. We as you know, we did the race back in the summer, and what we're doing now is we've had crews on the field. It's a peculiar situation, because when we drilled the 3 holes there, they were done at the end of a program where we were drilling our silver properties at Östersilberg, which is in the same property, but a different prospect. But we thought, let's check these out and see what they look like. So we had some great drill holes, and which we've reported on before. And we recognized that this was a Broken Hill type prospect, but we hadn't really done a lot of the field work, the surface work. So now we went back. We've spent quite a bit of time. We've actually been there in the field for about a month now, and we've been doing all kinds of mapping, sampling, looking at the rest of the belt, because we have a really prospective belt for about 22 kilometers on our property. So we need to know more about where other workings and pits and other mineralization that is in the database, in the historical database, and go and have a look at them, do a bit of mapping, but map around the Fredriksson prospect, so that we're going to be going there in the fall and carrying out a drill program. And of course, the other thing that we are doing is we are bringing in a crew to do drone magnetics. So it's going to be a much more detailed airborne magnetic survey. The line spacing is going to be about 100 meters between lines. And the whole purpose of that is that because the deposits are hosted in these iron beds, banded iron formations, and the mineralization is more or less stratigraphically or formed stratigraphically at the same time, you can follow these beds and likely be able to follow the mineralization better, or find out, because these are all folded as well. As the structure is complex, so you need to be able to follow these things, and the magnetics are going to help us with that. So a lot of work to be done there. We'll put out news announcing when we get going on the geophysics, and of course when the drilling will start. We'll put out some news about that. So yeah, a lot of work to be done there this summer.
And is it fair to say the drilling will start within 2 months? Would that be an accurate assessment, do you think, right now?
I would say so. Some of our limitations are probably more to do with logistics. In Scandinavia, it's still, Sweden, where Fredriksson is a little bit more open, so we don't think we'll find any issues. But for example, in Norway, where we're working right now, we're actually drilling there. We have had some delays, and I'll talk more about that in a minute when we cover the Burfjord project. But I think that it's reasonable to think that we'll be drilling there. I'm going to say end of September, beginning of October.
And we should point out your market cap is about Canadian 15 million. And if you've truly discovered a Broken Hill type deposit, we could be talking in the hundreds of millions of valuation that's created if you're successful.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. These things are a process, of course. And, I think we have one particular party, which is a mining company, a significant miner in Scandinavia, who is looking at our stuff. We've signed a CA, and they've already shown some interest. So I think because ideally we want to make sure that we just continue to prove up the continuity of the bed. So basically building tonnage, so that eventually we can put together a 43-101. But I wouldn't be surprised, because of the type of deposit it is, that we're going to get attention from some of the bigger players, and I think that will result in a revaluation of the stock.
And your Burfjord project, could you walk us through this? What have you been doing, and what should we look for?
So the nice thing about Burfjord is that, as you know, it's a joint venture with Boliden. We're operating the project, and they're basically going to be funding the project over the next 4 years to the tune of about $6 million US. And that'll give them the option to earn a 51% interest. So that project is a copper, gold, and we know it has a bit of cobalt as well. Prospect is an iron, what is called an iron oxide copper gold deposit. And so what we see there is we see a huge halo of alteration in this big anticline. It's a big folded sedimentary structure, and lots of magnetite breccias and fluids, lots of sodic fluids. Anyways, very geological, but we have drilled, it historically has been mined, lots of pits and workings with a lot of visible copper on surface. And but those pits and workings are not very deep. Some of the mines have been mined at 50 meters at depth, but this stuff was being mined in an artisanal way maybe over 100 years ago, and nobody has really done a lot of drilling or exploration. And in our drilling, we were able to drill about 50 meters of about 0.5% copper. In terms of copper projects, that doesn't seem, that exciting. Like the grade is 0.5%, but it is over a large width. So what the hope there is, because of the type of system it is, that you find a large tonnage deposit, something that has, not 100 million tons, but few 100 million tons, and that you can mine hopefully with an open pit, like in shallow mineralization. So Boliden is they really like this project. It's the kind of thing. They have another mine called the Attic mine, which is a copper porphyry, and their grades are very similar to this. And so, they don't mind these lower grade, large tonnage, bulk mining situations. So we've been working with them. We've had crews in the field for a couple of weeks now. We've brought on a drill rig. We should probably see some news on us starting the work on the drill rigs and drilling. And of course, we're going to be drilling for, I don't know, at least we're going to drill at least 2,500 meters, maybe more. And we did have a crew that started to do some airborne magnetics. But in Norway, there are some restrictions in traveling. And even though, a few weeks ago, we could bring in the magnetic crew, unfortunately, the numbers have been going up in other regions of Scandinavia. And this crew is coming from another country in Scandinavia. So they had to get out because of labor laws. You can't work any longer than so many days and take a break. And of course, in that period of time, the numbers went up and they restricted travel back to Norway. So now we have a survey that's been half done. So of course, those kinds of things do affect our programs, because obviously we were going to be using that data to set up some of our drilling. So now we're going to have to maybe go and look at our geology a little bit more closely and the geochemistry that we have. And still we're going to drill. But of course, it's not ideal, because we're going to be not having this bit of information that we felt could really help us define our drill targets. So still going to be very busy, still going to be having drill results. I'm going to say that we'll probably start getting results probably in about a month's time. And so a lot of news to come in drilling in that property, and hopefully we have some luck in our targeting.
And you mentioned, Pat, the financing. We haven't spoken in a few months, but tell us who came into the stock, any names that you can share. And you also did a share rollback, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, that was, the share rollback turned out to be a little bit difficult for us because the exchange took an inordinate amount of time to actually execute all the different things that they need to do. And so we actually had raised the money, and then we had to wait. But nevertheless, the transaction closed, and we were able to roll back the stock. The financing was led by a group out of the Netherlands, the Commodity Discovery Fund, and which I think was a nice feather in our cap. Because they're the kind of groups that recognize opportunities and good projects that are literally at the discovery stage and that have the potential to discover some world-class deposits. And I think that they can see that opportunity at Fredriksson. And so they came in, and so we're very happy to have them as some of the shareholders. We had a number of other. The nice thing about this financing is that a good number of the people that participated in previous financings, including some of the smaller funds, a lot of them came in, and so we're able to. As a result, we're basically a company that's now debt free, and we have the opportunity to continue to bring the projects along and hopefully create the value.
Excellent. And the host of this show was also an investor again in this financing. I invested last year and this year. And how long is this money going to take us? Can you speak to that, Pat, with the drill programs you've outlined? What's the burn rate and what does the treasury look like?
Well, I think we're going to be able to get to probably the end of the year comfortably. And to be honest, this is a game where you continuously have to raise money. I was hoping to raise a lot more, and obviously, we're always looking for investors, people that can see the value, that can see the opportunity, and that if somebody was to come in today and say, "Hey, how do I get in?" Then of course we would contemplate doing another financing. We're not with the idea of doing another financing immediately. And so the focus will be on doing, interviews with groups like yourself, making sure that we're on social media, that the company begins to, I think after September, when everybody comes back from holiday, we're going to be able to see better markets. And we want to make sure that we're relevant, that people know that we're busy, we're working, and that we're hopefully creating some value, that we're going to have lots of results in the fall and an early winter, and then perhaps consider another funding. Because to be honest, I'd like to be able to drill a lot more at Fredriksson, because we have like a 22-kilometer strike length there, and so I feel that our program is a bit modest right now, and I'd love to drill a lot more meters there. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, the website is NordenCrownMetals.com, ticker symbols NOCR in Toronto, and on the OTC, it's NOCRD. Thank you, Pat, for coming on the show and providing this update.
Thank you very much, Bill. Really appreciate it.